We are getting ready to get started with our workshop, so I'm going to go ahead and call the workshop to order, and we'll go ahead and move on down the line here. School board members, when we get to section 8 or any section that you have any questions, just please stop. I know the superintendent does have staff here, so they're here to answer any questions. So we'll move down to 2, which will be the approval of the agenda. 2.1, changes to agenda and approval of the agenda, and we do have one change. There is a deleted item, 8.13, the service agreement number 23-83, Matthew Fossa. Section 3, we have no recognitions. Section 4, visitors, no visitors on the agenda. We do have 2 personnel appointments. Section 5.1 will be the appointment of specialists of budgeting, and then 5.2 will be the appointment of specialist ESOL. And if I'm not mistaken, you should have got the email on the biographies of those 2 appointments. Section 6 is public comment. Members of the public desiring to address the school board, Form MIS 5241, public input and/or discussion of agenda items. This will be the 4-minute version. Section 7, committee and staff reports. 7.1, in-county travel paid for the period of August 25th through September 7th, 2022. And then 7.2, out-of-county travel paid for the period of August 25th through September 7th, 2022. Now we're at the consent agenda. Section 8, 8.1 will be the approval of the consent agenda. 8.2, approval of the minutes of the special meeting of September 8, 2022, minutes of workshop September 8, 2022, and minutes of regular meeting of September 12th, 2022. 8.3, Okaloosa County School District proposed budget from review share for the Doris Schlossberg Driver Education Safety Program. 8.4, invoices to be approved for payment. 8.5, school donations. 8.6, payroll warrant registers and accounts payable warrant register for August 2022, totaling $25,461,425.14, and bank transfers for August 2022, totaling $250,000. 8.7, permission to pay a materials and supply stipend for qualified adult vocational teachers, behavioral analysts, behavioral interventionists, mental health counselors, occupational therapists, physical therapists, school psychologists, social workers, and staffing specialists.
And is this new? Are we adding them?
So this is not new. As the state of Florida, they have a teacher supply allocation that goes out, so that's constitutional. And these individuals, I think over the last number of years, are also folks that work specifically with students.
Right.
So they also, we make it a decision here in Okaloosa County to also recognize those employees.
Okay, so we've done this before, which is good.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
But the categories of some of these people, because they're new to us, might be new.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm appreciative that we're adding them, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you. 8.8, tag on bid purchase over $25,000, Allen J. Fleet Sales. 8.9, tag on bid over $25,000, Strategic Equipment LLC. 8.10, tag on bid purchase over $25,000, Brain Pop. 8.11, tag on bid purchase over $25,000, Train. 8.12, service agreement number 23-82, Jeff Adams. 8.13 was deleted. 8.14, adjustment to the Florida School Board Insurance Trust membership and property and casualty insurance program. 8.15, employee benefit program renewal for the 2023 plan year. And Mr. Frakes is here.
And Mr. Bryant, School Board, as Mr. Frakes comes forward, and we will have a presentation for you, but I want to make just a couple words. First of all, I just want to take this opportunity to thank the board. As you know, insurance is something that we've talked about over the last number of years, and you all have expressed ideas, thoughts on how we might address insurance. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank the benefits oversight group. Sometimes we refer to that as the BOG, which is made up of district instructional employees as well as our ed support employees. And specifically, we have Mr. Butler, who's a part of that. We have Ms. Appleberg, Mr. Strong, Dr. Hale. So they have done an excellent job researching what we're about to discuss today. But I do want to make just a couple thoughts. So first of all, we know that insurance costs have been going up. Insurance is a significant portion of our budget, normally somewhere in the realm of $37 to $38 million. So when you have something that significant, I think it warrants really looking at how we're addressing insurance. Then you look at those health care costs going up. One of the things that our group has done in insurance a good job of is they've really worked on training. They've really worked on helping our employees say, hey, rather than go to the ER, maybe we're going to go to the Minute Clinic. So really looking at what are the best options for our employees. And I think what's important to also note here, one of the reasons that we're in the position to go towards this way is because of the responsible decisions that our employees have made. So I think I'm excited about this presentation. I'm excited about the direction that we'll go with your approval on Monday. But I want to thank Russ. I want to thank the group that's really helped get us to this point. This has been occurring over the last several months, and we are here. And Mr. Frakes, if you go forward.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, school board members, Mr. Chambers, and Mr. McInnes. Appreciate your time this morning. So again, we'll talk about that and did an excellent introduction there for us and took care of some of those points for us. So it's made some excellent points. So in the district, of course, is no secret, it's innovating in many ways. So as the next generation of schools comes into focus, we do the same. We're doing the same thing with employee benefits and our employee benefits program. So the program you're going to see today is the culmination of many months of very hard work. A lot of folks in the background, the folks that Mr. Chambers mentioned, the benefits oversight group, the representatives from the union that Mr. Chambers named, Dr. Hale, Julie Perry, all have been looking at this for going on 2 years now, really, that we go back and studying many elements of our benefits program. So we'll talk about that here in a minute, some more of those details. Also, we have our Accentria team led by Mike Caraway and Robin Riley. They've been working very closely with the benefits oversight group over the past several months since they've come in just about a year ago now. And then, of course, our risk management staff, a lot of dedicated ladies there with Ann Richardson, Krista Shea, Tracy Connor, and now we have a new member, Paula Kirsten, all of them working very hard on getting this done and getting all the things that need to happen taken care of for us. So so the Benefits Oversight Group has recommended to Mr. Chambers the renewal of our benefits program. So we'll review that here, take a couple of minutes to review some of the details about that. So what we'll see this morning, we'll see some of our existing plans renewed with existing carriers. So names you're very familiar with. We'll see some of our existing plans with new carriers, and we see a new carrier here in Saltmarsh, Cleveland Gund, with our HRA and flexible spending account programs, and then we'll see some new plans with existing carriers. So some new things to talk about, as well as some of our existing programs that will be renewed. So dental insurance, this is just an update. Dental insurance, of course, the dental renewal, we made that change effective September 1st, where we moved that from Delta Dental to United Healthcare, and we have a rate guarantee that's in place. That approval took us through. Takes us through the end of 25. So we have that rate guaranteed for quite a period of time. We employed a communication strategy to get that word out to our retirees, to our active employees. We had group meetings, sent out emails, sent out letters to our retirees, put up posters. Did a good job. All the staff did an excellent job in helping get that word out. We've had conversations with dental offices in the county as well. So we continue to see that network expanding. We're working now. Dr. Clark is working on getting that process, and that's about a 60 to 90 day process. So it doesn't happen overnight, but it is taking place now. Dr. Clark sees a lot of Okaloosa County School District employees, so that's a key dentist. Also, Dr. Lunderman in conversations to reviewing the contract now, I believe, is the status there for Dr. Lunderman. So the network that we have now with United Healthcare is going to look different 6 months or so down the road. So that continues development and is going very well. So we're excited with that. So nothing new to do there, but just by way of an update to let you know what's going on with the changes that we made on the dental front. Vision insurance will renew as well. We've been with IMED for some time, and this will be a renewal at the same rate, no rate increase. We've got another 4-year rate guarantee. This plan works very well. The folks that need it have it and have been very happy with it. Doesn't generate any issues for us. So we're excited to have that renewal and have that again through the end of 2026. Our long-term disability insurance, there is a change here in that we will move that coverage to the standard. We were with at one time the standard for our long-term disability insurance when they had our life insurance as well. Standard has our life insurance again. So we're going to see that long-term disability coverage with the standard. That rate guarantee runs to the end of 24 to align with our life insurance policy. And it allows, one of the good features of that is it allows for integration with our life insurance claims so that when we have something occurs with our life insurance or somebody has a long-term disability claim, they have the coordination that takes place with their life insurance, premiums get waived, that sort of thing. So, and a streamlined claims process, that's one thing the standard has provided us with is a very streamlined claims process. They turn those claims around very quickly. There are no plan design changes. The biggest feature of this that's going to be an enhancement for our employees are the premium savings that are involved. It's about a 20% reduction in premiums. That will be premium saved on the part of the board in that employees that have that board-paid long-term disability coverage. So in lieu of medical coverage, if you waive your medical coverage, you get the long-term disability insurance that's provided by the board. That premium decreases by 20%. So too does the voluntary plan. That plan that employees will get and have that lower premium now as well. So they'll enjoy some savings there as well. A new product offering that we have also through the standard is our short-term disability insurance. This is available to us at a group rate. So we'll see, again, Mr. Caraway and I did some analysis of those, did some comparison with actual County School District employees to look at other plans that we have currently available to our employees. Not a core benefit though. So an outside company that third party that markets coverage to our employees did some comparison on the rates, and this again is going to be a savings across the board on just about all the instances where we reviewed that and did that analysis. Was a savings because of the fact that it's a group rate. It's a guaranteed issue, so the employee doesn't have to submit to medical underwriting. If they want to take advantage of that plan, then they will be able to do so. That will be administered through our benefits administration system that we use for our regular benefits, so there's even ease of administration there. Employees can go in and elect it. It comes out of their pay just like any other deduction would. But nothing is being removed from the employees. There's no choices that are being removed. Those existing carriers that have been there, those deduction codes that have been there will remain. So there is no loss to the employees, just another option for them and one that's available again at a group rate. So we're excited to have that, and we're also seeing in addition to the short-term disability coverage, Standard is also offering some worksite benefits as well. So those are accident policies, critical illness, and a hospital indemnity plan. Again, those all run through and coincide with the renewal of our life insurance program. Again, guaranteed issue, so no medical underwriting for any of those policies. And again, in that analysis, this was done right alongside with the short-term disability and represents a lower premium as compared to other vendors that are currently in that employee market available to our employees. There is one of the great features of this is a $200 wellness benefit. So you do some of the wellness features like having any sort of screenings done. Could even be a at-home COVID test would qualify you for a $200 wellness benefit for the employee and any dependents that they have on the program as well. So get some of that premium back in doing the wellness, and that helps with our employees to make sure they're doing the right things to help improve their overall health and prevent things from that may happen down the road that could, small problems that we could deal with early on, prevent them becoming bigger and more expensive problems. So that's an exciting new offering that we have. So and here, as I alluded to earlier, we've got Saltmarsh Cleveland Gund as the new carrier for our HRA program and FSA program, the healthcare reimbursement account and flexible spending accounts that we've had for many years. Saltmarsh was actually the provider for this program when it was initiated more than 15 years ago. So we're rekindling that relationship with them, and we're excited about that as well. So one of the enhancements that this program will provide will enable employees to swipe their card. They'll have a card just like they've always had, that credit card, that debit card that they can use. Previously, they've only been able to use that at medical and pharmacy providers. That will now be available for vision and dental providers. There'll also be a direct deposit function that will be part of that website that Saltmarsh will provide us. So it'll ease the administration, allow employees to get money back faster or not have to come out of pocket at all because they can use that money instead of waiting on a manual check to be produced. They can just swipe at the vision and dental carriers. So that's I think will be a helpful change for our employees. The manual checks are still an option though if it's needed. So we're not losing anything, we're just adding that added functionality. So that brings us to our medical insurance. We are going to renew with United Healthcare again with no plan design changes. The plans will remain as they have been for the past several years. There will also be no premium increase. Funding is recommended at the same level that has been, so this will be, again, the second year in a row that we have had premiums at the same level. So unheard of for us. So Mr. Chambers alluded to some of the reasons why. A lot of our employees are now doing or have been doing the right things. As we've gotten that word out, we've communicated with them and increased awareness and understanding of how our plan works. It's helped us to combat those rising medical costs that are just we're not going to be able to get away from those. One thing I wanted to mention as an enhancement to our plan, with United Healthcare, is we have Kayla Martin here with us today. She is our on-site rep. She works for United Healthcare. She assists Okaloosa County School District employees. That is her job. She has been with us on a part-time basis here for the past couple of years, and she's done an excellent job. Anytime an employee has a problem with a claim, we can reach out to Kayla. We put them in touch with Kayla, and Kayla assists them with whatever it takes to get that resolved and follows it through. She's been involved with many claims and does an excellent job. Employees are very happy, and they have a person to go to that they can speak with and not have to sit on hold and deal with the endless bouncing around of telephone tag that you have to play sometimes with some organizations. She is able to kind of back channel and reach out to resources, leverage her resources that she has to get some resolutions to our claims. We now have her as a full-time employee, I'm happy to announce. So she's just started here recently, just a couple of weeks ago, as a full-time UHC employee and full-time for Okaloosa County School District. So she will be available to our employees even more, and we're going to leverage her availability. And I should mention she's a Baker High graduate as well. So she's an Okaloosa County School District graduate. So we're excited to have her on a full-time basis, and we're going to leverage her availability for things like wellness, get her out into the schools, and we wanted the board to become familiar with her, and certainly our schools will become more familiar with her as she gets out there. So we're happy to have Kayla on, so we welcome her. The big change for our medical insurance is going to take place in the background. This is something that will be seamless to our employees. There will be no change to the access to our networks. There will be no change to the facilities that they'll have access to. No change to the way the claims work. But the change will be in the funding, in that we have been previously a fully insured medical group, and the recommendation is that we're going to a self-funded funding model. So that of course is a big change for us, something we've never done before. Mr. Caraway has a great deal of experience with that with some other school districts that he's taken through this process. So we've learned a lot. The Benefits Oversight Group has learned a lot, and this is a decision that was not entered into lightly. There was much consideration, a great deal of analysis that went into making this decision, and we'll give you just a little bit of background on this just to explain some of the differences between a fully insured program versus our recommended self-funded model. So that self-funded model will involve us obtaining stop-loss insurance that will provide us with a layer of protection in the case that our premiums, our expected claims exceed or claims exceed what is expected. We see here on the graphic that we're showing here what our expected costs are at $32 million, and all of these numbers are are generated based on an analysis of our data, of our actual claims data, done by an actuarial firm that's come in and they are practiced at this. This is what they do. They serve to provide this kind of analysis for self-funded programs. So we see here on one side with a fully insured premium at almost 38 million, and that number, of course, is an estimate based on enrollment, because certainly as we have more employees and employees exit the program and make different choices for different premium, that impacts the premium. So that's really kind of a snapshot that we utilize for this analysis. But we see the differences there with the guarantee if we are remaining with the fully insured program versus the opportunity that we have with the self-funded or partially self-funded program to see a better result. So, and again, Mr. Caraway, I don't know if you want to come up, Mike, and we'll talk about this a little more and see if we have any questions about this specifically from the board. This really enables us to control our costs. Mr. Chambers alluded to that at the beginning. This is really what drove that. Medical costs are increasing across the country and really highlighted, especially here in Okaloosa County. And that's really what's driving the increase in our premiums that we've seen over the years, and really caused the Benefits Oversight Group to look closely at this as an option for helping us to control those costs. So we have a lot of flexibility in this program to modify our plan design. And really what I would one of the conversation Mike and I were having and have had with some of you as well, is this really kind of is akin to owning versus renting. If you think about owning a house versus renting a house, if you rent a house, it's all well and good. If the AC goes out, you call the landlord and you don't have to worry about it. If you own a house, that expense is on you, so you're taking that risk. So certainly there's risk in ownership, but you also can build equity in that house, and that's the difference. That very similar to what we're looking at with self-funded versus fully insured programs. So I think this is an important change for us. Represents a significant innovation for this district, and I think will set us up for success, and is going to help the school district, and certainly is going to help the employees. And again, for the employees, really no change in access to care or the way that the program works, the existing program works.
Russ, I know we talked about this about 3 years ago. We started
Yes,
talking about this
sure.
when we go to FSBIT meetings. It's safe to say that our district is kind of the exception when it comes to being partially funded here, because most districts our size or even bigger are already on this model. So
There are many districts that have gone to this type of program,
Right.
certainly, and organizations, companies, private companies, certainly. That's grown tremendously over the past 20 years or so, and Mike's been in the industry here for 25 or 30 years and can certainly speak to that. So it's
And you're right, Mr. Bryant. Pensacola, Escambia County Schools, they've been with United Healthcare self-funded for 15, 16 years now, and had great success. Santa Rosa School Board, they were partially self-funded in 2015. We took them there. Bay County, 2016, and all of them are having a lot of success. But it really it boils down to just having more control over your plan. If you go back to that previous slide, if you don't mind, I just want to point out something on the fully insured side. All of those components of fully insured, that's a breakdown of where your dollar goes. And when you go to a partially self-funded plan, all we're doing is breaking those components out of what each cost is. So really what we're going to do is have more control over our administrative cost, where United Healthcare controls it now. That's the big piece of it. Our claims are our claims. But we are able to customize, innovate our plan design long-term to help control cost if we see things that are getting out of, utilization maybe going up in a certain category. When you're fully insured, you can control it, but who are you helping out? The carrier, right? Well, now when we do it, we're going to be helping our own plan out. So I think that's the most critical piece of the whole thing, is we're just breaking down all the financial levers, and we control that.
Right.
I have a question, please.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, and I know that you've spoken a little bit about this, but for the public and employees, hopefully this wouldn't happen, but let's say we have a year where it's almost catastrophic, just a lot of major illness, what, you know, what,
Right.
you hate to think about that, but it can happen.
Sure.
How does this plan help us buoy that so that we can balance it out?
Stability, yes, you're talking about stability there, sure.
Right.
So, and Mike, you go ahead and.
Yes,
It's
so
probably better to speak to
the
this.
very top line, the stop loss, that's your reinsurance protection. So if we do have that year that, you know, we have high cost claims, we have what's called specific deductible protection. So if a person gets over a certain level, then our reinsurance kicks in. If we have an aggregate claim hit, let's say, or culmination of all of our claims, then you have aggregate protection. So those are the two safety nets that protect the school district for a year where we have a potential for a catastrophic with regards to claims. Historically speaking, is the only thing that we can use as a barometer for going forward with claims. And our plan has run exceptionally well in the last 36 months. That's why you guys are a great candidate. The school district is a great candidate to moving in this direction.
Okay, because of course, as the board, we have to protect our assets. We can't
Absolutely.
let
Yes,
that
ma'am.
go, so we need to make sure that, but that stop
Stop
gap-
loss.
that stop
Mhm.
loss there. So if it gets to a certain point,
That stop loss
it
would
goes
would
over
take
to
into
them.
effect. That's
Okay.
correct.
Yes, ma'am.
We'd have to we'd have to get to, we'd have to see an increase in our claims of some 40% before we got to that level, before we exceeded our stop loss insurance. There is a risk that that could happen, but it would be a significant, there would have to be many, it would have to be a catastrophic year, absolutely catastrophic year. And the analysis that was used here by the actuaries that prepared the reports were very conservative. That $30 million expected claims figure and almost $31 million is a very conservative figure. So I think it much more likely that we beat that figure, but so it's
I think it's
unlikely
all-
that would see that.
I think it's also important to note that we have to file these numbers with the state of Florida. The state of Florida reviews our actuary report, and it's signed off by them, and they've done that and signed off on it, and everything's been approved. So the state is comfortable where our funding is, and they don't base it off just where our funding is, they look at what our claim history is. So everything's been provided to them, and they are in good standing. So that, obviously, getting their seal of approval is number one. Yes, ma'am.
And I'd also like to say, I know that my first year on the board, when we looked at our benefits package, Russ is looking because we had I was amazed because I think it was something like 12% or something. I was
Sure,
like, what?
yes, yeah.
And basically, I'll just paraphrase, you said, our hands are tied, more or less, you know.
It was difficult, yes.
And then the next year it came back, and I think it was up even more. And I went, and you went, well, this is, you know. So I like that gives us more control.
Yes, ma'am.
And like you said, if we see things where it's getting out of hand, we have some things to do where like you said, it's kind of like that renting.
Right.
You know, these are the rules and this is what you have to do. And if the rent goes up, you know, that kind of thing. So I think this is good in knowing that we have the cushion of protecting the board and the district from financial loss. To me, makes it a very positive change, and our employees are still getting the benefit level that they've had.
That's correct.
So,
That's
so
correct.
thank
No
you for
change
all
there.
the
Should be-
information.
Should be fairly seamless to them.
Right.
Any other questions about the self-funding before?
Well,
We've
just,
got one other thing to talk about.
Yeah, Dr. White.
Yes, I have a question about
sir.
the slide that you pulled back up,
Yes,
and
sir.
I'm sure most folks are like me. They see the red number and they see the green number.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
And a little simple math, as Mr. Horton will verify, there's about a $4.9 million difference on the partially self-funded versus the fully funded. And just curious about that difference and what are our plans for that and how is that going to work?
Sure. So you're referring to the maximum total cost versus the fully insured premium?
Right.
Right. So that maximum total cost, that's 20% over what our expected claims would be. So, if we get, Mike, you can jump in on this as well.
Yeah,
Mike
let
can
me
speak
add
to
one
this
thing,
better than I.
just
Yes,
for
go ahead.
clarification. I think you're asking the 32 million versus the 37 million?
Right.
So
Oh,
the
okay.
32 versus
Yeah.
the 37.
Oh.
I see, okay.
Yeah, so-
Very good, yes.
So, yeah, I'll be glad to handle, so this is our fixed cost over here, fully insured, it's going to the carrier every year.
That's what it would have been.
That's correct,
Correct.
that's what it is today,
Correct.
yes, sir.
Right.
And so, with the expected cost being that 4.9 million, this is where we anticipate our cost to come in as expected. That's what the carriers expect it to, being United Healthcare and our reinsurance company.
So it could be higher, or it could be lower?
It could
Correct.
be higher, yes, it could be. And right now, just using our historical
Right.
data, it's coming in below that number.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And so if it comes in even further below that number, those are expected costs, I'm assuming, that we've budgeted?
Yes,
I
sir.
guess there would be remaining revenue if it came in less than
It
what we
is, and
budgeted.
one of the requirements of being on a partially self-funded plan with the state of Florida is we have to have a safe harbor reserve set
All right,
aside.
so let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay, so a safe harbor reserve is at the end of the first year, by April 1st of 2024, we have to have 2 to 2.5 months of claims in
Okay.
reserve.
Good.
In the event.
Right.
In the event that we were to go over our number and/or if we decided for some reason, which I can't anticipate that occurring, is if we wanted to go back to a fully insured model, that the reserve would pay any run-out claims that had been incurred prior to the termination date but not paid until after, if that makes sense.
So we anticipate then, should there be any additional revenue saved,
Mhm.
that would go into a safe harbor fund?
Yes, sir.
And
That would be
able
funded
to
first.
Protect that.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
And that's where that stability in our renewals could come into play, with that
Right.
reserve there as a buffer.
Okay. So there's not really money on the table after this is over?
Right, it would stay into the health plan, growing a reserve to be able to, create wellness plans and things of that nature.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Does the money from the safe harbor, does it generate interest,
It is in your account, yes,
Okay,
sir,
all
it
right.
is. Yep, absolutely.
which is
Good.
a plus?
Mhm. That is good.
Mhm.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions on that? We have one other item that I'd like to discuss here before we leave you today. And this involves a new plan that will be offered to our retirees. This again is through United Healthcare. It's a group Medicare Advantage plan that will provide them with an option. And we're going to open this to all of our retirees that are eligible. So if they have Medicare Part A and B, they can purchase this. They will purchase it directly from United Healthcare. So easy administration on this program. And we see the premium there. We've said just about $280 monthly premium that is available to them, also available to spouses. It would even be available to, if we had an employee that has a spouse that's Medicare eligible, that meets those criteria, that spouse would also be eligible to add this program. So it shows a $0 out-of-pocket cost for medical services, and the co-pays on the prescription on the pharmacy side are also very low. So they have access. In comparing this is a group Medicare rate, so it's a very favorable rate. There are other plans that you may see that are available through, that are not group rated plans. You may see some premiums that are lower than that, but this plan is going to provide a PPO network that is still going to provide access to all the centers of excellence, all the hospital facilities, doctors that they're accustomed to seeing. Some of those plans that are lower in premium you're going to see what's maybe termed in the industry a skinny network, so they can only go to a certain set of doctors or hospitals, and if depending on what area you're in, it may not be convenient. This is provides much broader access and would apply to folks, because we have retirees certainly that live throughout the state and some out of state even. So they would equally be able to access care and have access again to those centers of excellence. And I think it's a good program and one that we're excited to offer to retirees.
I think it's important to note also that we're going to do live presentations with the United Healthcare representatives coming in and doing it 3 or 4.
We got 6 meetings scheduled.
6 meetings.
Yep. 3 locations, 6
for
meetings.
retirees to come in and learn more about it.
And we've got some letters that will go out announcing that program, and we'll do some communication with all of our retirees. And United Healthcare will also be sending out some cards to them to invite them to these meetings so they can get more information if they're interested. But the idea is to provide another option for our retirees that they struggle with medical costs, and certainly when they get to leave the district, of course, those, they're paying those premiums on their own. So we want to provide them with some protection there and access to group, still have access to group rates.
Is this a benefit program as a result of us going to the partially funded model?
It's independent of that.
Okay.
It's independent of that, so just a standalone program.
Okay.
Mr. Frakes, you mentioned another option, so retirees have the ability to stay where they are versus?
Yes, they can. And we have some retirees, a small number. There are about 65 or so retirees that remain on our medical insurance. And it's a very, very expensive proposition, as you can imagine, because they're funding they're paying that premium fully themselves. If it were somebody that were Medicare eligible, which we have very few of those, there are a couple still that are holdouts. We've had conversations with them, and we will continue to have those conversations. This may be something that might prompt them to make that move, because as you can imagine, it would represent a substantial monthly savings to them
Big difference.
versus our medical insurance. So,
And this plan here
Mhm.
is very comparable to the plan that they are currently on with some enhancements?
well, essentially, our plan acts as if you were on Medicare and you had our plan, it would really be a Medicare supplement, essentially, a very expensive Medicare supplement.
Right.
And Mike can speak to that better than I can, but it would be a much better option this way. But we have very few people that fall into that category. Most of our retirees that are on that plan are they've retired before they're Medicare eligible, and they're in a position where they're just kind of bridging the gap in most cases. They're waiting until they become Medicare eligible, and then certainly they would look at an option like this. So they could move in, they could certainly transition into this plan at that time that they become eligible.
And I appreciate that, and I ask those questions. As you know, the cost of insurance is high. We've spoken to many retirees who have shared those concerns. So we've discussed this for a while as well. So I'm very excited that we're finally at the point where we're able to provide this option for our retirees. And I think even going back to the previous plan in terms of going to the partially self-funded, over time, there's a hope that we'll be able to address family insurance as well.
Okay, so that would be like for employees that are not at Medicare benefits yet, we have retirees that go many years before they're
That's right.
that age.
Yes.
So is that what you're talking about? We're trying to work on getting them something, because that's kind of those gap years. And
Yeah,
that,
those-
for many, that can be 10, 12
You're right.
more
Absolutely.
years.
Absolutely. And really, yeah, that's this program, of course, they would not be eligible for this program until they reach Medicare
Right.
Medicare
So,
eligibility.
but what
age
of
65.
our program now helps that group that's in the middle?
Well, they're in a position where they're going to, in most cases, they're finding coverage elsewhere. They're finding some other option, again, because of the cost of our insurance. It's not always, our policy is very rich. Our plan is very rich. Our medical insurance is a very good plan. So it's difficult to find something that's
But it's
of that
but
quality.
it's still an pretty big expense.
Yes, it is. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. And medical insurance in general is,
Mm-hmm.
and, that's a challenge that many folks have.
So going to the partially self-funded doesn't help that come down some?
Well, and to the extent that it enables us to control premiums, yes.
Okay, so it will be some better, you're thinking?
Yes,
For
and
that
and
group,
again,
if they keep
from a plan
staying on
design
it.
standpoint, those are things, and we changed a lot this year. So we'd had, and with all the other changes that are going on in the district, Mike and I looked at each other at one point and said, we got to hold it, we got to stop here. There's a lot of things that have changed,
Okay.
but in the future, we've already discussed some things that we will look to enhance down the road once we find some stability, find our footing, get accustomed to the current changes that are being made. That's something that is certainly that will be.
Julie
considered.
has the answer.
Yeah, no, we cannot change our premiums yet. We have to build up that safe harbor.
Okay.
We
Right.
have to also have extra money in there in case we have a bad year.
Right.
So we have to get through the first couple of years before we
Right.
can even
Okay.
see if we can.
All right.
Then hopefully we can adjust premiums then.
That makes
For
sense.
this first couple of
Okay.
years, they have to be the same.
Right.
I'm
And
just
that's
trying
what
to
I was
look out for everybody.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and we want to. That's what I was referring to, that
Mhm.
over time,
Right.
as we're able to put some money
Okay.
away, the goal is to help our employees with family insurance and otherwise.
Right.
All right, thank you.
And I think where you were talking about seamless for the employees, but like you just said, it is going to take some time for the backside of that to
Yes.
really kick in.
It does.
And when it does, it's definitely going to be a benefit overall, so.
Yes, sir.
So this time next year, you'll be coming up here telling us how great it's all going and.
We hope to.
And how yeah,
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
good.
All right. Thank you, folks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Chambers, I do would just like to comment just some of the things that I know we all heard up here, which is something that over the last 6 years I've been a part of representing this board with FSBIT, but I do appreciate the fact that Mr. Frakes and his team have really, you've given them the latitude to be able to do what their job is, and that's to minimize these costs. And, you know, what I heard several times is employees are doing their part. And I think it has to go, it starts with the fact that we've got a vested interest in risk management. And, you know, with Russ and his team being able to do their job, they're out there to educate our employees on the benefits of, you know, working safely and, you know, making sure you're not going to the emergency room unnecessarily and things like that. So I know, Russ, appreciate all that you do.
Yep,
And
thank
Mr.
you very
Chambers,
much.
thank you for letting him be able to do that. So
Yeah, the bog
Absolutely.
committee too.
yeah, yeah, and Mr. Butler over there. All right, so now we'll move down to 8.16, motor vehicle lease for disaster transportation services between the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida, and Okaloosa County Board of County Commissioners. 8.17, affiliation agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida, and the Westwood Nursing and Rehabilitation. 8.18, non-exclusive student affiliation agreement between the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida, and Crestview Hospital Corporation. 8.19, term sheet for grant award agreement between Triumph Gulf Coast Incorporated and the School Board of Okaloosa County. 8.20, request to submit an application for the American Rescue Plan, ARP, and Elementary and Secondary Emergency Relief Fund, ESSER Instructional Materials Grant. 8.21, access agreement for provision of school-based parent-provided nursing services. 8.22, access agreement between, access agreement for provision of school-based services. And finally, 8.23, multi-agency agreement between Global Connections to Employment Incorporated, Innisfree Hotels, the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Services, and the School Board of Okaloosa County, Florida. So now we are to Section 9, Superintendent's Human Resource Recommendations, and 9.1, Employees on Administrative Leave, 9.2, Deferred Retirement Option Program, 9.3, Position Upgrade, 9.4, Add a Field Report for the 2022 through 2023 school year, and 9.5, Employment Separations, 9.6, Personnel Recommendations, 9.7, Employee Transfers, excuse me, 9.8, employee suspension, 9.9, employee suspension, and finally 9.10, leave without pay. Section 10 is discussion agenda, and at this time, we have no items that have been moved. And Section 11, I'm going to turn it over to my Vice Chair, Dr. Diane Kelly.
Well, we have already had September's report, and we will have another one in October. I'll be able to bring you that report at that time.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kelly. And we do have 4 items we're going to vote on. It looks like 5 items, I'm sorry. 11.2, authorization for professional services from Faithful and Gold for price validation for program number 6, task order number 21, Longwood Elementary School Classroom Renovation. I know everybody at Longwood's excited to see that on this agenda.
I was at their school during pre-planning, and we talked about the vision for this and where we're
Right.
going, and they all stood up and clapped. So they're excited and looking forward to this.
And, you know, and I think it's interesting, well, I think it would be good for the public that is watching this to understand if they're new to Okaloosa County. Longwood is a unique school. It is the last school that does have open classrooms, which means that there's partitions that separate a big room and you have classes in there. So we're going to do away with that and get them in their own classrooms with them.
Yes, sir.
Yep. All right, 11.3, authorization for professional services from Faithful and Gold for price validation for program number 6, task order number 23, high school auditorium upgrades. 11.4, authorization for professional services from Faithful and Gold for price validation for program number 6, task order number 24, Central Administration Complex Renovation, Phase 1. 11.5, TPM, program number 6, task order number 27, pre-GMP for Bruner Middle School chilled water piping and HVAC program or project. And 11.6, TPM, program number 6, task order number 28, pre-GMP for district-wide Phase 2 security upgrades. Now we're down to section 12, and this is information technology seat management contract, no business on Monday night, and 13 is attorney's business. Mr. McInnes?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I need to ask that you schedule a special board meeting on October 6th at 8:15 in the morning. I have two pending litigation matters that we need to discuss with the board.
Okay.
One is in case number 3, 18 CV 453 MCR HTC, and another is case 3, 20 CV 5796 MCR HTC. These are both pending in the Pensacola Division of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Florida, and we need to have a conference with the board to discuss matters in those cases.
Okay. Everybody okay with that date? Yes. Okay, all right.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chambers, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. First of all, I just want to say, can you believe it's almost 6 weeks into the start of the school year? So we're already approaching the end of the first 9 weeks, which just seems unbelievable, but time flies. I want to start off by having Ms. Tammy Ellis and Mrs. Thetford come forward for a second. And as you know, we have a DODEA grant that we have applied for, and we've received another $2 million DODEA grant.
All right.
And these two ladies have done a fine job in the area of science and math and really working on engagement with our students. But this is also a grant that deals with our military-connected students.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted Mrs. Ellis and Mrs. Thetford just to share just a little bit about the vision of this and how it's going. There's a tutoring component as well. And this is a big deal for Okaloosa County.
So we are super excited. We are currently in year 3 of the 2020 DODEA grant we called Engage, and it's based on CDC's curriculum that talks about healthy body and mind, and just the idea of how that impacts student learning. And so we piggybacked on that for this 2022 grant, Engage 2.0, and one of the things we did was we are creating these technology-enhanced classrooms. We're calling them TEC. And basically, teachers are using iPads and monitors such as the one you see here, because they are, one, less expensive, and you don't have to dim the lights in a classroom to be able to see them. So we have monitors, teachers have an iPad, and they can be mobile. So all of this enhances that interactive whole group instruction. We actually, just a little background, just to be quick, we survey teachers in the spring and ask them what technology they prefer, and then Stephanie and I go visit with schools, and we actually talk with teachers to make sure we're buying what they want to use in the classroom. This is coming from a needs assessment that we do with the schools. With that, this is a team effort. I do believe we are awarded these grants because of a couple of things, and one is I can't even think of the word right now, but the amazing, I'm going to use that for lack of a better word, financial team, and Jason Lulu and their team. Because one of the things, this is a competitive grant, so there's about 70 awarded each year, and this is international. So we're selected out of hundreds of grants. And I didn't share this, and one of the big matrix components is being fiscally responsible with the funds. And because we draw down correctly, we manage our money correctly, that gives us those points on that matrix, and I believe is a huge reason that we are able to be awarded something like a $2.0 million grant over the next 5 years. So I want to thank Ms. Perry as well as Jason Lulu and the team. Joe Peterson, couldn't do it without him either, pulling data, because this is a research-based program, and he pulls data on a whim. And then, of course, Stephanie's doing research and crunching numbers, and Linda Pinkert keeps us in line always. And so we are super excited. The final thing I'd say about this is what drove us to write this award was that DODEA sees the need right now for teacher incentives. This grant is unique to our other grant in that in our professional development opportunities, we're going to be allowed to buy some teacher incentives.
Right.
Things like T-shirts, water bottles, fun stuff that teachers can use in the class just to help morale. There is a set of funds for that, and we were super excited to get that this time. So, thank you.
So real quick, I believe y'all have a Facebook page too, am I correct?
Yes,
So
we
please
do.
follow that.
Hillary, and that's another team member. So Hillary has been helping.
Yeah.
We get to extend our STEM coach, Amy
Right.
Amy Pearson, for 2 more years because she's on our old grant, but this will extend her 2 more years. And Hillary has been helping make sure our social media has
Yeah.
gotten better. So thank you, Hillary.
And then briefly describe, and you may have said it, but I could have missed it, so briefly describe the military component of this.
Yes, sir. So to be a military-connected school for DODEA, you have to have 10% military dependents, not just dependents, but military connected. That could be your parents or civil service, any connection to the military whatsoever. We are excited this year, and I haven't told Dr. Smalls, so if she's watching this, Destin Middle School actually made the list this time. So Destin Middle School will be able to participate in DODEA this time as well. But while this does enhance, and we have, as Stephanie reminded me earlier to mention, the tutoring component, and it is huge.
Great.
Virtual tutoring in the evenings.
Oh,
We're paying
good.
our teachers to tutor their own students.
Oh, terrific.
So it's done very well. I actually
Yeah.
had a call this morning from someone at Baker saying how they had 8 students show up last night for virtual tutoring
Great.
at 6 p.m. So
That's good.
super excited about that.
We are, and we have to monitor, so we have to turn in numbers for the military students that participate. So the teachers that participate, they have to monitor military dependent numbers, and so that's data we have to turn into. But all students, it's not like the tutoring is just for military connected students. Any student can attend. We have to be diligent in and reporting the numbers of military students that participate. So it's for all students and all teachers if they're a military, if they have the 10% military.
So how many
connected
schools do we have that this grant will affect?
So in the middle schools, it connects, we have all the middle schools except Laurel Hill, and Pryor will fall off in this one, but they made it for the 2021. So they're still part of the 2021.
Okay.
But they fell off for the 2022.
Oh,
But it's, you got to be right on that line. But they're still part of the 2020 grant.
Right, so they still can.
So except for Laurel Hill, we have 10% or more connected students at our secondary schools.
That's awesome.
And I would like to say we support Laurel Hill extra through Title IV funds.
Yeah, so
We
if-
kind of
help them.
supplement
We
that.
do.
Yeah. And I appreciate you mentioning that about our Laurel Hill families up there, but it is more of a traditional family setting up there, so.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Well, you two just do a great job at getting this. No, you don't try, you succeed. Thank you so much, because this is helping so many students.
So love
And
our math and science teachers.
I
and our
know.
students. We really.
And I came to that,
our
that-
Content areas.
Yes.
last year I came to your DODEA
Yeah, you-
workshop, yeah, uh-huh. And that was really fascinating to see. People all over the state came to that. Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the
Thank you
opportunity to
the support.
share.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. You may have heard recently that the Hilton Garden Inn over on Okaloosa Island, they were just awarded by the county commissioners an Exceptional Employer of the Year designation. And where that comes from, where the connection with us is, this recognizes them for hiring and retaining people with disabilities as part of the workforce. And as you know, we have students in our school that's going over to the Hilton Garden Inn, and they're taking part in that program. So we have right now 6 students who are working in that program. It's called Project Search, and that's also 8.23 on our agenda. And then you have a teacher there by the name of Miss Beverly Wilson who's working with those students. So we appreciate all that she's doing. But I also want to say thank you to Jay McGinnis and the transportation staff, because we're taking students from different parts of the county, driving them down to the Hilton over there on Okaloosa Island So it's, again, it shows that teamwork coming together to do good things for students. So do appreciate the program. Ms. Ard and her staff also creating this in conjunction with the Hilton. So I think that's a neat thing and how they're recognized as well. Going to safety, as you know, 11.6 is another safety layer to our overall safety plan. And I'm excited that we're getting ready to go into that venture where we have a pre-GMP for the swipe card access to our classroom doors and certain other doors as well. And this is something that will happen over time. It's probably going to be summer projects over the next 2 summers. But right now, as you can imagine, where there's an administrator walking around and you've seen them, where there might be 13, 14, 40 keys, well, we go to that swipe card access. So that's one of the layers. And I do want the board to know that an additional layer of safety that we continue to work on is our Guardian program. And we do anticipate this upcoming summer, we're going through that process right now, but going through another training regiment, so to speak, with our Guardian program. So we're still staying active on that. And then the last thing I just want to say is, as you know, it's Founders Month. Schools have been doing a great job celebrating over the course of this month. Ms. Hillary Demers will have some videos, some posts that are going to come out towards the end of this month to really highlight and showcase how our students have been very patriotic, the things that are happening in our schools. But one of the videos that she'll create will not just be about this month. It's just going to be showing the patriotism of students over the years here in Okaloosa County as well.
Great.
All right, is that it?
Yes, sir.
All righty. Well, thank you, Mr. Chambers. Always appreciate your announcements. All right, so now we're to section 15, board members' announcements and requests for information, and I will start with Ms. Gardner today.
Nothing at the moment. Monday night it will.
Okay, all right. Ms. Vanchek?
Okay, all right. So I was able this week to go watch the Baker girls volleyball in action. It's a treat. You need to go. It's those ladies are great, and I'm excited because right now they are #1 in the district, 4th in the state, and if they continue on their winning ways, this will be the 20th consecutive year they will be district champions.
Wow.
20. That's unbelievable. So I'm hoping they can continue that and keep going. But it's a great team. Also got to visit Niceville High School. They have a newspaper club. They have a printed newspaper. I think some of you know that I did a printed newspaper for about 25, 30 years at another school. And so their teacher is a true former professional journalist, Ms. Humphrey, and she invited me to come and talk with the students and see what they're doing. And I tell you, some very talented, smart kids there, and enjoyed that. So I'm glad to see a student newspaper. Learn a lot of different life skills being on a staff like that, and plus a service to their student body. So that was great. And so the other thing is I want to thank Sam's at Baker. Their freezer that they have in their concession thing just died, filled with their concession food, imagine. So Sam's came through and gave them a brand new freezer. So I want to thank them. We have some great community partners that help with that. And then I'm gonna piggyback on Dr. White. We have something real special to talk about, but that's his school, but it's both of ours, alma mater. And so I will wait and let him get started and then perhaps add if you don't
Well, if
mind.
it's all right, Mr. Bryant.
I'm getting ready to go over to you.
Thank
so.
you, sir. I'll just interject that I'd like to say happy birthday to Choctawhatchee High School today for 70 years. 70 years as one of our schools in Okaloosa County. And Ms. Vanchek, as a friend and a colleague, I'm so grateful to you for the activities that you've worked on and
Oh,
assisted
thank
them
you.
with. And,
Appreciate that.
And if it's all right with the chairman, I'll turn it back over to Ms. Vanchek.
Go right ahead.
Well, I appreciate that.
She's wearing
First
her
of all, I want to
green.
say that the school is older than both of us, so I'm going to put that out there.
Or just
Okay.
barely.
No, you
In
don't
my
have to,
case.
yeah, you have to do that. But
Where was the original location?
at Meg's,
That's
yeah,
right.
we know that. And so, yeah. And so I'm real excited. Miss Heck has asked me to assist with the celebration because when I was a teacher there, I coordinated the 50th and the 60th. I like doing those kinds of things. But, Choctaw is a very unique school, and we're very proud the 70 years. I wanted to ask if anybody on the board knows how many principals, including the current one, has Choctaw had in 70 years?
Eight, I think 8 or
7.
okay.
That's pretty incredible, including the current, so that's a thing. Another little trivia fact I'd like to share about Choctaw is many people think that the Indian riding the horse as a tradition, that we got that from FSU. Actually, Florida State got it from Choctaw. True fact. Back in the 60s, Coach Bowden's wife came to a game and saw that, and that Coach Wyman Townsell started that as an incentive for his players. One of the players would get to ride the horse, and she saw that, liked it, and that's FSU now, so Choctaw. But a lot of great traditions and things, and today is actually the birthday. It actually started September 22nd, and the reason it was so late in the year is they were delayed in the building. Some things never change, right? And I read an article where they started with 650 students from 7th grade to 12th. They were already over capacity when they opened. The books didn't show up. They were short of furniture. And I thought, wow, at least we keep the tradition 70 years of what happens in public schools. So anyway, it's exciting. So today I think they're having a little in-house. I believe Miss Heck ordered close to 2,000 green iced cupcakes so that all of her students could have one. And then later at homecoming in October is when they're going to do the true celebration of the anniversary of the school. So I hope there's many, 70 more at least of Choctaw High School. So thank you, Dr. White, for letting me
thank you.
do that, because we do share that in the sense that he is their school board member, but we are both alumni of the school and both taught there.
That's right.
So, thank you. That's all I have.
Dr. White?
That's good.
All right. And Dr. Kelly?
Okay, well, first of all, Mr. Bryant and I both attended the ribbon cutting at Crestview High School's new gym, and it was marvelous. And the floor is beautiful. If you haven't seen that floor or any of our other new gym floors and the logos, they look fabulous. So make an effort to go see those. They are really nice. And Mr. Sanders and his team did a fabulous job, I thought.
They
Sure
did.
you agree?
They did.
And then I'd like to announce that Plough Elementary is having their second annual Walk and Roll to School Day, Wednesday, October the 12th. And that's just an opportunity where parents can be with their children and be outside in a physical activity to promote health and wellness and the enjoyment of being together as they go to school. And there'll be more information if you look at Plough's website. And then I wanted to thank Ms. Perry. I had asked a question a few weeks ago because I'd had several teachers and people who are close to teachers question me with concerns about the fact that with our increase in beginning teachers' pay, which all of us are proud to add, I don't, for one, believe that any of our instructional personnel are paid highly enough or probably ever will be in my lifetime. But the concern raised to me was that with that increase of the new teacher pay, that now we have many veteran teachers who are approaching having been experienced for a decade that are at that same level, and that they felt like their experience wasn't acknowledged. So with all of those concerns raised for me, I had spoken to Mr. Butler, and he helped me understand that I could relay some of those points to the people who were concerned. But I also talked with Ms. Perry, and I really appreciate your thorough one-pager here, and I wondered if you wanted to speak to that quickly, just the highlights. You don't have to speak to every bullet, but if you could just give us the highlights. I'm sure that those people watching or who will later watch will appreciate your attention to this.
Yes, ma'am. First, you know, as we all know, Mr. Chambers and the school board have always strived to do everything that they can to help support our teachers, our educational
Absolutely.
support,
Thank you.
administrative. They've always done a great job with that. In 2020, 2021 was the year when all of this changed. That's when we got the teacher salary increase allocation. We were required to use 80% of it to increase the minimum teacher pay. And so at that point, the minimum teacher pay became equivalent to 0 to 10 years, meaning anyone that had 0 to 10 years of experience, when they came to the district, they were placed on that step. Now, if you're a pay-for-performance teacher, once you're placed, then you're going to be able to get an increase each year. Grandfathered, at the same time, you're eligible for a step each year. And remember that, so even as anybody at the very top, if you're paid for performance, you're never topped out as long as we're giving annual adjustments. Grandfathered can be topped out, but they have the option to change to pay for performance, so they're not topped out. So that year, not only did we raise that minimum salary, but we gave a step, which was 2.49% to the grandfathered and 0.5% general improvement. We gave a 3% annual adjustment to the highly effective pay for performance and 2.24% to the effective pay for performance. And that teacher salary allocation allowed us to do another 1.47% on top of that for everyone that was already above the minimum. So then 21-22 changed again. There was a new statute that said, all right, you have to not just pay your pay for performance highly effective more than grandfathered. You have to, which, could be 2.49%, 2.5%. You had to pay them at least 25% more. So that changed the way our calculations were working. They also require any district that is minimum salary was below 47.5, we have to increase it by 150% of whatever we give our grandfathered teachers. So we were forced then to raise the minimum salary again. And they didn't give it, they gave us some extra teacher salary increase money, but not enough to fully comply with that statute. So there again, our teachers saw the minimum going up. But we were able to, because of the changes, that year we didn't give a step, but we did give everybody on the grandfather 2.25% general improvement, and the pay for performance highly effective, to do 2.81 because we had to do 25% more. So then 2022, 2023 for this year, we received teacher salary increase. We received more of an increase, not as much as we did that first year, but we received more than we did last year. 50% this time is for minimum teacher pay and 50% for everyone else. So by taking what we normally would do plus that money, we were able to give a 2.49% step and a 1.5% improvement for the grandfathered. We gave 3.11 and a 1.5% improvement to highly effective pay for performance, and a 2.33 and a 1.5 to effective on pay for performance. Well, because that grandfathered went up a total of 3.99, that means we had to do 150% of the minimum, so we had to raise that 5.99%. So you can see that is continuing to compress it, but we have to follow statute. So that made the new minimum equal to 0 to 13 years now. So and then one point, now we're above the 47.5. Next year, we won't have to do 150% of the grandfather, but we will have to do 75% of the grandfather. We're still required to increase that minimum salary, whether or not we get teacher salary increase money.
Okay. So the bottom line is we are following statute.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I really do appreciate the detail that you went to provide this one page for us.
Right.
Thank you.
And I do too. If I could just follow up,
Certainly.
Ms. Perry and Mr. Chairman. So I appreciate that explanation, and I know that we can all see the salary schedules and that kind of thing, but I don't really know the details. And for example, do we have teachers with 10 years experience that are earning less than a beginning teacher?
Oh, no.
No, the same as, but not less.
No.
All right, so the answer is, we don't have any teachers with 10-year experience that are earning less than a first-year teacher.
No, sir.
Very good. All right, thank you.
That wasn't the concern, but.
So, Ms.
Understand.
Perry, if you don't mind, so you said next year it's going to be, did you say?
We still have to increase the minimum, and this will be 75% of whatever we're able to give to the
Okay,
grandfather.
but I thought I understood that we just had to get the starting salary to a certain point that the was being requested, and that it appears we're there.
Well, 2021,
Uh-huh.
it started out, teacher salary increase was given to get us, we were required to increase salaries if we were under 47.5.
Yes.
But 21-22,
Oh.
there was a new statute.
Okay, so
that
they changed the
said
rules. I
you
got you.
Yes, that you have to increase
Okay.
that minimum salary. Didn't have anything to do with getting teacher salary increase money. You just had to increase that minimum salary by 150% of whatever you give grandfathered until you reach 47.5. Then you have to increase by 75% of whatever you give grandfathered. So we're gonna, unless they change it, we're gonna be required to continue to increase that.
But as I recall, that move to that first, going back to the 2021, that first time we made the jump was significant.
Correct, it would right to 10 years.
Right,
So,
okay,
yeah,
because
10 years was
it
up-
was,
anything up
it
to
was
10
very
was
significant
the
that we
first step.
moved. And so, and then the change, so if we have to go 75%, so theoretically, we can't ever really get those that have the experience. I mean, we just don't have the funding to be able to continue, right?
No, but we have given, you
Yes.
know, the others, we've
Mhm.
given the step, if you're grandfathered, we gave a step in general improvement. If you're on pay per performance, they received annual adjustments, general improvement. So thankfully, we were able to provide those things.
But I like Dr. White's question because I hear that too. They say, I've been teaching so-and-so years, and a person can come in and make more money than me, but that's not true, is it?
No,
Okay,
No.
all right. That's
And-
what I,
And the other thing I'd like to point out, and board members, you all know this, and the audience, and maybe mostly members of the public know this, but these matters are something that are handled through a collective negotiations process that's required by state law. And the district's negotiating team is appointed by the superintendent. And then, of course, the associations, they have their own negotiating teams. And that's where these recommendations really are made once they agree, and then the superintendent brings those recommendations to us, and then the associations seek those out to be ratified in the schools by their members. And that's a process established by law.
right.
And it is not unique to Okaloosa schools. It's throughout the entire state of Florida. And I know, I have a little experience with that, and I know the tremendous amount of time it takes on Ms. Perry, your part, and the superintendent's appointees to that wonderful committee, and also with the associations and their appointees to those committees when they meet at the table to negotiate all of these things that we're talking about. But the second part of that is, I would say that some of the local control associated with the negotiation process has been superseded by these state laws that are now requiring these specific requirements that you've already spoken about in terms of the increases. That's new. We never really had that before.
Right.
And I just wanted to share that for members of the public that might not know that.
And that was one of the suggestions, Dr. White, that I gave to those concerned, was perhaps to contact their local legislators and make their concerns at that level.
And I just want to point out, as we know, every year we get a budget, and that budget is a set amount of money. And we
And
know
it's
that in our county, approximately 80 to 85% of dollars that are able to go towards salaries go towards salaries. And we all know, we just heard, that this is a state law in terms of getting that minimum teacher pay. But we also can hear, when you hear Ms. Perry talking about the percentages, this is complex. Then you put on it grandfathered personnel versus pay for performance as well. But one thing that I know I'm proud of, and I believe this board is as well, is we understand that, we believe that we have some of the best educators in the state of Florida.
doubt.
And we have taken a stance each year to ensure that we compensate our employees. I think every one of us wish that we could do even more. But I think in parts of the state where maybe, salaries might stay at a certain level, I think we've made a concerted effort to compensate our teachers, our educational support staff, and our administrators each year within the dollars that we have, and be as fiscally responsible as we have. And I think as we go forward, we'll continue to do that. I know I'll bring forth those recommendations, but being fiscally responsible is important. But I believe we've tried to do the best that we can possible with the money that we receive for all of our employees.
And I heard Ms. Perry say that, you know, a lot of this is, it's always contingent on how much money we receive to from the state. And of course, that changes every year, whereas one year we might get this amount, but it typically goes back down this way. So, and it falls upon the district to have to follow, you know, to make that money happen. So.
And it's not only what you get from the state, and are they going to do they raise retirement rates,
Yeah.
which they
Right.
do,
Yeah.
and then do different things that go up. So,
I have a question about the pay performance. So can a teacher go at any point in their career so they could change any year?
they can change. They can't, if they go to pay for
They can't-
performance, they cannot
can't go
change
back.
back to
Mhm.
grandfather, but they can change any time.
Okay, so they could do that. And so.
Yeah, and they're given that option every year.
And just, I hate to put you on the spot, but do you have a general number? Do we have more teachers on pay performance or more on grandfather?
It's getting to be a pretty close to 50-50.
Okay. So if they go to that, then
Because
it,
anybody new had, to- as of, what year was it?
2012?
2014.
Mhm.
They had to go become paid.
yeah.
Right.
for
Okay, so
performance.
as we, attrition and everything. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Well, I just, one last comment, and it's kind of a follow-up on the superintendent, and then I'll hush. But I certainly hope that with the kind of teacher shortages and other personnel shortages that not only Okaloosa, in terms of personnel, is experiencing, that other counties are experiencing, very, very hopeful the legislature recognizes that and does something to improve the salary schedules of these individuals so that these positions can be filled and then secondly, retained. Because we're having a hard time.
Right.
And I know other counties are. And I suspect that I hope it will be an agenda item for the School Boards Association again.
It is.
And also the Superintendent's Association again, because the dearth of employees that we're facing is real. And the significant impact is on the classroom.
Absolutely.
And hopefully the legislature will help us remedy that situation with increasing the salaries and attracting more candidates. So that's my opinion piece, and that's all.
All right, thank you.
Again, thank you, Ms. Perry,
Yeah,
for
thank you.
answering my question and for doing such a thorough job. I
Thank you.
certainly appreciate it.
Anything
That's
else? All right, well, thank you, Dr. Kelly. And I'll just finish up with just one quick announcement. Just yesterday, I had the opportunity to be at Crestview High School and talk to our mental health counselor at Crestview High School. You know, over the last couple of years, mental health has become more and more prominent discussion within the state, within our school district. These folks that are in those jobs, they carry a lot of weight on their shoulders. And, I just want to say thank you to all of our mental health counselors out there. We have 21, and I know our directive is to try to get more in there. And of course, like Dr. White said, trying to find people in those positions, it's hard because that's a premium pay position right there. And typically most of those folks can go outside the district and make a lot more. But the 21 that we have, plus the 7 other employees, they do it because they love what they do. They love the children. They love our employees, because they're not only mental health counselors to the students, they are mental health counselors to the employees that are in the school too. So I just want to give a shout out. Ms. Stacy Burleson is who I talked to yesterday at Crestview High School. We talked it was only going to be about a 5 or 10 minute talk. It ended up being over an hour just how fascinating, what her job duties are, and, just talking about everything that she has to do. So to all of our mental health counselors out there, thank you. And to the team, I know Tracy Lamb, Terry Schroeder, all those folks that are involved with that, we do appreciate all the hard work they are, because mental health is going to be a topic that's not going to go away, and it's going to be more and more prevalent in our schools. So, and I'm glad we're addressing it now. We're trying to. I know the Hope Squad is one of the programs that we have out there, but there's other things that we're doing on the backside of that too, to try to help get mental health out there on the forefront. So, all right. So now we'll move down to section 16, and this is the 2-minute version of public comment. And then we do have 2 public hearings in 17.1. Okaloosa County School District Budget Special Revenue Funds, Other Federal Programs Fund 420 for fiscal year 2022 through 2023. And Mr. McInnes, I'm going to have you explain why this one is on here.
Yes, we're going back to clarify from the last meeting. That was one of the items where we had the publication of numbers was correct, and there was a sheet on the desk that had a different number. This will just be sure that we get that corrected. So we'll do a
Right.
public hearing and ask you to reconsider that item from last time, and then we'll ask you to revote on it with that clarified number.
But everything else that we did that night is already with the
Yes, sir.
state. It's all
Absolutely.
done. So,
Yes, sir.
all right, thank you, Mr. McInnes. And then 17.2, Mr. Gore, I see you sitting out there. So thank you for all your work on trying to get these textbooks all out there. And also, we are going to be doing a public hearing for textbook adoption, the instructional materials for mathematics for college liberal arts. And
I
with
think
that,
that's our last one, right, Mr. Gore? He's doing a thumbs up.
see
Yeah.
the smile on his face. All right, so Mr. Butler, anything you'd like to say, sir? All right, Ms. Lightbourne, Mr. Horton, Ms. Perry? All right, this meeting's adjourned.